Today I wanted to go over a little bit of the Africa Twins factory part from Honda. It wasn't factory installed, but I did install it as a factory part. Their QuickShifter. And I just wanted to go over some of the basics of the QuickShifter and why I decided to install QuickShifter on my bike. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes if I can. I wanted to talk a bit about the Honda QuickShifter, particularly the one that I purchased for my bike, which is the Honda Factory QuickShifter. It's a part which you can get directly from Honda, from Revzilla, from any of your favorite distributors or dealerships around where you live. I picked up mine from Sky Powersports and Cocoa. I won $150 from their mustache contest, and $150 is quite a chunk of change off of the QuickShifter. Luckily, Gannon over in the parts department was able to price match it for me according to what Revzilla was selling it for. So I have a picture here of what Revzilla was selling it for. And honestly, it's a good price for the product. I'm pretty happy with what it is. And I'm happy with the service that they were able to give me at that point. So why do they make such a part like this, a quick shifter? Well, a quick shifter, essentially what it is to do is to take the transmission from a motorcycle, which is a sequential transmission, as opposed to a transmission in a car like a standard H pattern, where you can shift into neutral, into first, into third, into fifth, as you feel. On a motorcycle, you have to move linearly or sequentially. So you start in first gear. There is a detent between first and second where you can sit. Then it goes up, or in neutral at that point, between first and second. Then you move into second, up, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and straight back down. So I couldn't necessarily go from first to third, skip second, because, hey, I already revved the ass out of first gear, and now I'm going to go to third gear. That's a fun time. You can't do it on a motorcycle. You got to go to second, passing neutral, to third, or to second, then to third and fourth and fifth and sixth and five and four and three and two and one. And that's it's just the way the design of the motorcycle is. And the nice thing about a sequential transmission is you don't have to worry about putting it into a particular gear. You slam and go. Now, why do they make a quick shifter? What essentially a quick shifter is going to do is interrupt either the ignition or the fueling, usually the ignition. So, and when it interrupts the ignition, when you put in a sensory load, so what you're using is something called a load sensor or a strain gauge. And a load sensor is basically just a little piece of metal that feels movements or flex or essentially pressure that you're putting onto a particular metal. It reads it out to a frequency, if you will, or some sort of readable data, which can be interpreted. And then from there, you can set your limits as far as when you start pushing on something, how much pressure you want it to receive before it activates or does a certain process or turn on whatever it is. In this case, it's turning off the ignition to allow the gears to loosen up a little bit, basically just not be as engaged, so that way you can shift to the next gear, re-engage it, and you're right back on top of it. You don't have to let off the accelerator or anything, so you don't have any problems with grinding or disengagement and engagement of the gears between second, third, first, second, whatever it may be. Now, saying that, why would I install one? Well, it just makes well, first off, it has the potential to save your clutch duration, or at least the clutch usage itself. Secondly, I can free my hand up. I don't have to be shifting up and down with my fingers all the time. Third, if I do ride 2-up, which I have already tried it with 2-up, it makes the shifting smoother and easier, so I don't drop in revolutions between shifts. Especially with two people on the bike, you notice all this sag and lag in the bike, and it kind of feels like it's got a load on it. And when you pull the clutch in to shift gears, unfortunately, the bike kind of loads down, and you go and let it back out into the clutch, and yeah, I get it going again. Am I going to be 100% honest? Yes, I am a 285-pound man, and my brother is 275 pounds, and we were both on my bike. Yeah, that's why the bike is going to load. But with the quick shifter, man, it just made it a lot easier for us to go up and down around or whatnot, or load my wife on and shift in second, third, fourth, fifth, up and down. Very nice. As far as the installation of the product itself, it was pretty easy. It's fairly self-explanatory as far as the instructions. You basically replace the original portion or the shift linkage between your foot and the transmission. And what that is going to do is basically use a stock length arm as well as the stock shift arm and essentially the stock pivot arm at the top that attaches to where the load cell is. You can see it in the picture there. I have it changes from a straight bar into a bar that goes into kind of like a plunger thing, and that's going to be your load cell. The load cell is the strange gauge. The strain gauge is basically the load cell with a little stick on it that you can kind of put pressure and then pop. That's where you want it to shift. And so when you put your pressure with your foot either shifting up or down, that load cell is going to feel the change in tension. And when it feels that change in tension, it's going to cut the ignition. So that way you can shift without damaging the transmission, eating up the clutch, and you can do it fairly effectively and quickly, which is nice. You know, you want to downshift twice and rack it, dang, dang, whang, and go through, you have no problem. You want to upshift quickly, quietly, whatever. You need your left hand, something's whatever in your pocket, downshift, upshift, grab whatever, go back out to it. So it makes it quite nice. The use of it itself, how to activate the what's it called? The Honda QuickShifter. What we're going to do is basically anytime you want to upshift from first to second, second to third, third to fourth, whatever it may be, you have to be on load. So you have to be accelerating, and the bike has to be above 1,800 RPMs. Which, if you're riding the bike and you're going up, you're going to be past 1,800 RPMs. I mean, usually I shift anywhere between 3,200 to 4,200 RPMs just to kind of keep it nice and casual, and I can rack it all the way up to 8,500 if I wanted to, 8,200 where the bike still feels like it pulls, which is another question and situation altogether. Um, and also for downshifting, just lock off, get off the accelerator. You don't necessarily have to be off the accelerator, but at least you have to be in a position in the RPMs that when you downshift, you're not money shifting per se. So you're not putting so much revolutions back into the engine because you're trying to use the engine and the transmission to brake that you're surpassing the rev limit of the engine. So let's say an example like I just talked about, let's say 8,000 is the hard limit for my motorcycle. I'm in 6,500 RPMs in fifth gear. I want to knock it down to fourth. Well, if I knock it down to fourth, it's most certainly going to go past 8,000 RPMs, which then we're going to have issues with valve float. We're going to have issues with springs. We're going to have issues with the valves themselves come in contact possibly with pistons. We're going to have, obviously, the pistons are not meant to move that fast or balance that quick or balance that fast as well. We have untold amount of issues which could possibly happen. So the bike actually doesn't let you downshift in those situations. And I first learned about that when I was going down from second to first. So when I was in that situation and I downshift from second to first, it would kick me into neutral. And I was like, man, it just kicks me into neutral every time. But if I let second gear drop and I hit first, it goes, revs match and comes back down. And then I realized it's because it's saving the engine. Very smart. One thing I will have to say with the use itself, it does not like to shift very well from first to second at lower RPMs or at lower load on the accelerator. If you're below 25, 30% on the accelerator, below, let's say 4,500 RPMs, there is no need to use the quick shifter. You hit it, it's going to shift hard. It shifts really hard. It's clunky, it's loud, it's kind of uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good on the motorcycle. If you're going to shift from first to second with the quick shifter, rack it up above 4,500 RPMs. Make sure you have good load on the bike, that you're actually giving it some acceleration, and then you can shift to second, and it's as smooth as the rest. As far as operation from second to sixth and sixth to second, it is as smooth as butter. 1,800 RPMs or above. It doesn't matter the load that you're putting on the accelerator, as long as you have load on the accelerator and you don't chop the accelerator completely off as far as throttle, you're going to be good. Shift up, shift down, you have a great time. Now, this is not an automatic. Obviously, you still have to use the clutch for start-stop operations. You still have to use the clutch in slow-speed operations. And it is nice to still have a clutch. I don't plan on going automatic, if you will, or something similar like a recluse clutch, because I like the use of the clutch, especially in slow-speed situations and off-road when I do decide to take it when I get my tires. The utility itself, man, it just makes it so much easier to move your hands around if you need to move something, touch something, adjust whatever. Clutch, back and forth with your hands, grabbing, let go, grabbing, let go, grabbing, let go. Street driving just makes it much simpler, a lot less fatigue on your body. Is it worth it? For the $455, it'd be tough. It'd be tough. 480 something bucks, $485 or whatever it is in the picture. Let's say sub $500 with tax or $500 with tax. Is it worth $500 with tax? If you wanted a quick shifter and you had to go with a factory, or if you had to go with a quick shifter and you wanted it and that's your option, you have to go with a quick shifter because that's what you want. Yes, the factory Honda QuickShifter is a great, wonderful option and a cheaper option than if you're going to go with something with aftermarket, because at that point you have to interrupt the factory wiring loom or harness or whatnot, at least the ignition system, in order to cut ignition when you're shifting. The factory system, the factory firmware on the bike already had it set up for the QuickShifter. All I had to do was install it, turn on the quick shifter in the firmware, and then access the quick shifter to set the settings that I wanted to, as far as this, how soft or how hard I want the quick shifter to react. And as far as that, it was flawless. It was very easy to install. I've had zero issues with it since. It syncs and calibrates on its own. It came straight out of the box. I didn't have to do fiddle with anything. Follow the instructions to a T, because that's Honda and that's the way they do things, and they like things a certain way, and it's probably for a reason. So that's what I did, and it's been wonderful so far. The fit and finish of the unit itself, it looks like a factory unit. I cannot complain. It's wonderful. If you wanted to just get a quick shifter, you weren't sure about a quick shifter, you're not too sure if you're going to use it for the application, save yourself the 500 bones, maybe put it into something else. But with the $150 Skybucks that I got from Sky Powersports Cocoa, man, that's a good price. So I went for it. And again, I said, as far as the integration of the system, the firmware already had it. It was very easy setup and use. Would I keep the product or lose the product? Do I want it? Do I not want it? Do I like it? Do I not like it? Is it something I'm going to keep on the bike? Man, it's on there. I'm not taking it off. It was at this point 300 and something bucks for a quick shifter that works with my factory firmware, which I don't have to mess with at all. Keep it. Wonderful. I love it. I'm not going to. I haven't complained about it as far as any issues that it's given me. The only hiccup, the first to second to first shifts are rough, but that's it. That's it. Everything else is great. So it's going to stay on the bike. It's certainly a keeper. There's a couple other things I want to check out as far as products that I picked up. I have some Blockhouse Highway 21 Blockhead jeans. I want to give those a roll and see how it works. I've had the quick shifter on for maybe about I don't know, about 2,000 miles or so. I put over about 2,000 miles in the last month and change. And honestly, it was a little squishy at first compared to the straight rod, because obviously there is an actuator. There's some give there. It's feeling tension. So it did feel a little odd. But after using it, honestly, I can't even tell the difference anymore. I just shift and it works. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would recommend it. If you're looking for a quick shifter for your motorcycle, Honda and one of the big four, or any one of the Americans, any Italian, Japanese, German, whatever bike, if you have an option to get a quick shifter, get the quick shifter. And if it comes on the bike, wonderful. Do I recommend it as highly as heated grips, as a windscreen, as, let's say, for example, a good comfortable seat? No, it's most certainly not necessary for for the type of riding that I do, which is more touring. Um, is it cool? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Um, Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for indulging. I hope this helps a couple people. If you have any questions on this quick shifter itself, any questions as far as the functionality of a quick shifter, any questions as far as which one is the right application for you, let me know. This is a community. It takes a village to make this stuff work. And the only way I learn is by putting out information for me to digest. And this is me kind of, supporting and adding to that little bit of information. Hopefully somebody can learn from it. Thank you all. You have a great day, a wonderful week, a wonderful month, and a tremendous year. Thank you again.